Hello everyone, there's a lot of Mortal Kombat characters in the MK universe, from playable characters alone, which there's various NPCs. I'll discuss about character alignment, like what their allegiances to. Because, of course, your heroes, our villains, have a lot of neutral forces in MK especially. I'll discuss why there's a lot of takes that either put characters in positions they aren't in and other stuff, or the fact is just so many times a character has shifted roles through whatever reasons, usually retcons, that lead to him being aligned with a force that many people disagree with. Usually these are characters who should be on the hero side. Extend that, I know a lot of people also feel the same way, and I just want to cover why that's a thing, because I feel like not a lot of people understand it, and a lot of people say absurd shit about characters. I just want to get into it with some of them. First one that comes to my mind, Bihan, because people seem to think that he's a villain, and always has been, which isn't true. He never was a villain. He was just he was a good guy at heart doing bad things because just the life he was brought into. His parents were killed, babies, and him and his brother Kuai Liang were forced into the Lin Kuei, and they've just been raised by whoever. Possibly the Lin Kuei Grandmaster Sector's dad, also known as an hero. We all know you desert the Lin Kuei, you get killed. So straight away, Bihan is kind of in a tough position here. He hasn't really got a choice. And of course, being Lin Kuei, he was a thief. He was an assassin. Not good things, right? He did not doing good things. But everyone in Lin Kuei did that, right? And especially the backstory that Bihan has alongside his brother, what choice do they have? And it's not like Bihan enjoyed it. Like, in mythologies, he even tells Rain he's just trying to earn a living. He's just doing it. He's just doing it not because he enjoys it, but because he has to. And these misconceptions that he's just been this evil ghost and all this bad shit is really dumb. He goes to the Netherrealm, yes, because he's a sinner. He being a Lin Kuei means you run a life of sin. That's not exclusive to Bihan. Kuai Liang would go to the Netherrealm if he was killed because he's a sinner. And at least before if he died before he had done the reform Lin Kuei, Smoke too, Cyrus, these are considered the hero characters that stem from the Lin Kuei clan. They all have like a stained past. That's just what it was, because that was a corrupted clan. There was clear redemption arcs up, with mythologies. Of course he dies, becomes a new Cybot. And another misconception is that people seem to think Noob Cybot's just Bihan. MK11 itself might even think this. I can't tell because they never say the name Noob, probably because they realize how dumb it is. But I don't like them ignoring that name, just because giving him a separate name separated him from Bihan. He's a separate guy. Of course, it's the corrupted Bihan, right? It's technically the same person, but being corrupted means he's a corrupted version of himself. He's not, the shit he says is not what Bihan would say, right? And it's kind of been twisted into just this idea that they're just the same guy. They behave the same way, regardless of what version he is. And I really hate that. And especially annoying because MK12 is the first time outside like the MK4 prequel comics where the two Liang brothers interact. And the context is terrible for one, because it's Scorpion Kuai, which is dumb. It's reboot time, where Bihan's clearly being zapped to be a villain, or fucking edgelord lines. Yes, he is just Noob. It is the same character as MK11 Noob, just with some new shitty lore. And that's a shame, and it's led to more misconceptions. Of course, there's also the 2021 movie, where he is just straight up a villain, because reasons. No motive. I don't think they don't even mention Lin Kuei Clan until like the end, and they never even provide any context for it. What a lazy movie. And yeah, it's a shame. And it's led to this misconception. He is just always evil. And that's dumb. And, and he says, stop. That's why a lot of people keep trying to say he's not evil, because he's not, right? A lot of this stuff comes from headcanons, but a lot of this stuff just comes from facts. And here, Bi-Han was not meant to be a villain. If he was just a villain, there would be no need for Noob Saibot, right? There'd be no need for this corrupted version of himself, because then there'd be no difference. You'd just still have Bi-Han, and that's what it feels like it's become. I don't like that, because that's not what it's meant to be, and that's just way less interesting. Both for Bi-Han and his brother. His brother meant to, he's gone through all his pain, he's lost everyone in his life, and he just doesn't give up on him. Wants to bring him back, wants to bring Noob back, wants to save Smoke from his civilization, Cyrax too, Sector as well, we'll get to Sector. Just all these guys, right? Frost, another one. I don't think I put Frost as this because there's so many. There's so many characters who put in the villain side for stupid reasons, and there's just way more potential if they were if they weren't taken that way. Not to say that Bi-Han shouldn't be in the villain position, right? Because I like the story of him dying, and becoming Noob Saibot. But that story should end with him being saved by his brother. And the fact that we've never actually gotten that is fucking insane. That is so insane. That's clearly what was going to happen. And then we just had a reboot and shit's just been retconned now. It's such a massive shame. And I think he is a prime example of this just vilifying characters who just weren't villains. And I say this one, I'm not something like Sindel, because Sindel's well known, right? Well known to be a heroic character. Bi-Han, not necessarily heroic, but was going on a path to become a hero, right? Wasn't just a one-note basic-ass villain. That wasn't the case. And so many MK characters, people seem to think, or writers seem to think, that they are just that. And yeah, it's a shame. Sector in the original timeline wasn't even himself, and by that I mean the saving protocols all the cyborgs have. His cybernetics, his programming, it was just deteriorating from all his battles in Outworld, right, during the invasion and stuff. And this led to him becoming corrupted. Again, like Bi-Han and Noob. He's not himself, he's doing all this evil shit, like all robot brawn and everything, when we don't even know who the guy was. MK9 reveals some more stuff saying that, he was the son of the Lin Kuei Grandmaster, which is cool. That's actually very interesting. That makes him quite a stand-up character. Then they make him generic by just saying, he liked being an assassin. Why? And he did it again, like the Lin Kuei Grandmaster would have just groomed him into being one, right? Like shady-ass guy who doesn't get enough recognition. He should be the main antagonist of the Lin Kuei character, and yes, becomes Sector. All of the bad shit the Lin Kuei character has done is just pinned onto Sector, and that really pisses me off. And it's just because the Lin Kuei Grandmaster isn't a playable character. He's not even named officially, and the Nero name comes from Defenders of the Realm, where it's clearly a different guy anyway. But in that continuity, that's the Grandmaster. He's called Nero, so people just go, give the name to Sector's dad. And yeah, it just shouldn't be the case. He's just become what a Nero should be, right? Like he's just become what that character clearly can be developed into being, and he hasn't become himself, You can, sure you can do the midway thing, the program, but even then, the end goal should be, saving him, right? And that's how you end the Takunin kind of stuff. If you went that route, or just don't do that. I like the idea, and there's a lot of direction you can go for Sector, because he's one of the most blank slate characters of the original trilogy characters. Dude does not have a lot to go off of. Again, because the original timeline, he's just broken down programming robot guy, which is cool. You can just do that. But if you want to look at the person behind all the cybernetics, then all you really have is the MK9 stuff. And it's not great, It does just make him like a mini version of his dad, which not a lot of people seem to recognize, because again, not a lot of people recognize his dad in the first place as a character. Who again is the Grandmaster of this shady Lin Kuei clan, this corrupted version of the clan, and nothing happens to him. He's the guy. He's the reason why the Shiryu was massacred, right? At least originally. And for some reason, we act like Scorpion's revenge story ends at him killing the hired gun, Quan Chi. Of course, Quan Chi's a shitty guy, but Enero is more responsible than him anyway. You know, it's dumb. It's really dumb. I think a lot can be done with Enero, and separating from Sector, I think you can definitely take Sector in a very different route, you know. And this is one that isn't discussed a lot, because I'm just here covering characters that can be shown in a more positive light, right? Just to humanize them a bit more, and I guess that's the key thing with Sector, because people just seem to think, oh, he's a robot. No, he's a guy. They're cyborgs. They are human beings. And, you know, like presumably Bihan and the other Lin Kuei characters, especially in Sector's case, because he is the literal son of the Grandmaster. The amount of manipulation, like there is no way this dude has not been abused. Like there is not a single chance, because that Lin Kuei Grandmaster is an evil motherfucker, right? And it's just not acknowledged enough. I think he's a guy who we made very sympathetic. Of course, I not a perfect guy. You're going to go with the whole fact that he liked being an assassin, which I don't even see value in. I think the value in the MK9 stuff was he's a guy who's he's advocating for the cyber initiative. But what shouldn't be known to him, I feel, is the slaving protocols. He wants just to enhance them, right? But the Grandmaster, his father, is going out of his own way to use the slaving protocols so they all obey his command. Right? Not Sector's. Sector knowing about this and being spared from slaving protocols would make no sense. He goes out of his way to kill the Grandmaster anyway. So it's like him and his dad are in like cahoots, like this evil fucking like comic book villain duo. They're not that. And I don't see much value in even doing that. If you want antagonist Sector, you just go with the original time I wrote, because that is that's much cooler. That's much cooler than him just being the same character, but that's just who he as a person is. I think that's so much lamer and doesn't really make sense when that's what his father should probably be characterized as, at least something on that line. It's not even that very clear that he's not just on the same protocols, because again, he just acts like a generic cyborg. That's what I mean by he feels like it's not even him still. So yeah. Now for us, when we just get more into headcanon territory, because we don't have a lot to go off again, but it's a take that I know many people share with me, that Rust, you know, is a sympathetic character, you know, and probably should be. You know, if we actually went the route of being, you know, Sub-Zero student, there's much more interest in that than anything they do with her after she betrays Sub-Zero. Let's go for it. She betrays Sub-Zero in the original time to write her off. There's no actual plans for her, right? She just becomes this crazy person when they bring her back, and that's it. They had no plans for that storyline. It was literally just to write her off, which is dumb. And yet that's somehow become the direction the character goes. Each time, even Onslaught, she's like some scientist for like Shao Kahn and like the Flesh Pits or something. We don't know specifics. I just bring up Frost in one of the lines. We don't know because Katana's chapter in that shitty mobile game came out, and it takes forever to actually progress through the chapter. So we're waiting for any of the 7 people who play that game still to complete it, to know what the hell's going on now. But that's like real like fanfic AU idea, man. That's I mean that's what MK12 is. Let's be honest. And in the first NRS time, I'd have to specify that the first NRS timeline, right? It's the same thing. I mean, it's a bit different. The combat's being a cage fight and whatnot, but generally a good person, seems to be pretty chill. And then MKX, doesn't want peace with Scorpion, which 11 kind of warps into being this, well, oh, this Lin Kuei Ryu rivalry. She wasn't even fucking alive when that was going on. That's completely irrelevant to her. What makes sense, and even Onslaught goes off of this, is Frost doesn't like Scorpion because this is the guy who killed her master's brother, right? And again, like, one of the few characters even call him Scorpion, not Hanzo, right? Yeah. I feel like she has a good reason to trust him, and Sub-Zero freezes her. Bit extreme, but whatever. They kind of like, oh, talk to her about it after. But no, MK11, her bio, which isn't even in the game, you have to go to the website to get it, which the website's now MK12 bios. So that's not available information anymore. But she basically just leaves the clan. It just leaves after that. And then somehow, they don't even elaborate on this, Chronica finds her, and somehow she knows cybernetics, gives us cybernetics, because, oh, she's power hungry, I guess. Which is very random, right? Like, they Alliance, the ending, wants specifically the Dragon Medallion to enhance her ice powers, right? I don't know why, Maybe it's because she feels inferior to Sub-Zero or whatever, Could have been genetic power hunger. But there's some intrigue there in her wanting to be stronger, That isn't just, oh, I'm power hungry. That's lame. And just get these cybernetics and just lose all the time because, NRS showed that cybernetics apparently don't actually enhance you at all. It's dumb. It's really dumb. And they do nothing over in Chronic Meeting, even though, kind of, again, there's like mother-daughter, like, kind of vibe there, but they never interact, so, yeah, it's weird. It's very weird. And I think there's even potential in going that route. As long as, Sub-Zero eventually makes amends, which should have happened on the ship anyway. Instead of just, oh, such wasted potential after, like, frying her brain. Like, okay, Jesus. I don't know. I think there's just more intrigue in her sticking with the new Lin Kuei. She represents this reformed clan, right? I think that's cool. People love Takeda just betrays Scorpion. Like, come on. It's really dumb, and I think the only reason it keeps being done is to separate her from the other Cryomancer character. I think that's lazy, right? You've managed to make them very distinct in gameplay. You don't need to make their story roles completely separate, right? That doesn't really change anything because they're still very distinct characters, regardless. So yeah, it's another weird one. Basically, all I want is just stick with the Lin Kuei. Just expand the character, have a train more instead of just being this like fucking arrogant brat who's just such a generic power hungry villain. Because Frost is really cool, but no one cares about his story, and I'll tell you why, because it fucking sucks. That's why it's in need of a rework, and a very simple rework is have her not betray Sub-Zero. Basic shit, guys. Very basic. Being of Chronica Goons, I'll probably rapid fire for these ones. Cetrion, goddess of virtue, like all this like fucking positive shit. Like she's the bro of Shinnok. Represents good and represents evil. That's a really cool parallel. But Shinnok's not in the game, and Cetrion's just a goon for Chronica, who we don't even know what she wants exactly. She's just kind of a mama's girl. Just does whatever she says. Even though they clearly plant seeds of her betraying Chronica. But they never do it. But yeah, at heart, she's clearly a good person. Like I don't have much to say about that one. She's just clearly not a villain. Same thing we said for Garrus, just does what Chronica wants. Why? I don't know, but, he seems like a chill guy. He's, goes on a couple massacres of, like, the Special Forces guys, and I think the Shaolin monks, but just doing his job. I don't know. He seems like, he doesn't come across as evil at all, in intro dialogues and stuff. He's seems like a good dude, but I don't know what he wants. In his ending, he's got an ending where he's doing stuff for good. So again, very simple. He just doesn't come across as evil at all. So yeah. And he covers some Earthrealm guys. Cabal was a former Black Dragon and became a vigilante, wants to do good things. And then they had him flip-flop roles a bunch of times, and now he's just retconned into a villain. His MK11 lore is literally an inverse of the MK9 lore, where he goes from being a Black Dragon to a cop. Now he's a cop who became a Black Dragon. Lame. I don't even mind him being Black Dragon, by the way. Because I think the original time, it's not my preferred round, but he did a good job in the original time of like him setting up this new Reform clan, recruiting Cobra and Kira. That was cool, And so you can even do cool things even if you went that route with him. But yeah, he's just very lame, and not many people care about him anymore because they retcon him each time he shows up on screen. It's fucking dumb. Poor guy. Another Black Dragon, Jarek. Jarek just seems like he is under a right. MK4, he's actually sided with the heroes, helps him out. Then, and because Armageddon makes his canon, Jax just throws him off a ravine. It's based on the MK4 ending, of course, where he's yeeted off. But when Jax throws him off, the context is he kills Sonya by refusing to be turned in. But this time it's just Jax just yeeting him off without that context. It is Jax being pissed, and yeah, justified, I guess. But yeah, no, that is literal brutality. And then Jax survives, he goes crazy, and he's kind of he's just some insane guy wanting to murder people. Jesus Christ. So yeah, I feel like him helping the heroes, of course, instead of refusing to go to prison sentence, he takes it, he's short in because of his heroic services or whatever, and that lets you bring him back for a time skip or whatever, and yeah, then you can have him in whatever way he's helping the heroes out in some way. There you are, very simple, because he does not give me villain vibes at all. But of course, he's a character who unfortunately hasn't shown up much, so we don't have anything outside of MK4 and Armageddon where he just goes crazy, so I don't think there's much to take away there. Ferrator. I don't even know what they are, but Farah is clearly just a fucking child doing child labour for Kotal, and Tor seems to care about her. I don't know. I just feel bad for him. There is no way they're just evil, right? And of course, the Kotal crew side is kind of this neutral force. But yeah, I don't know. There's not much even to say about them because they're such non-characters, but there's such a lot of sympathy for Pharaoh in her situation, So yeah, I think there's a lot of intrigue in hiring Pharaoh. Of course, a child character in Mortal Kombat. Although I think they tried retconning it into, even though it's clear supposed to be a child, she just happens to be really dumb, and also just a dwarf, I guess. I don't know, because there's supposed to be some weird species where these little goober guy, I guess, and then transform into a big beast. But the vibe is clear that Farrah's just a child, right? It's weird. It's a really weird one to discuss. But yeah, obviously there's more potential in them being good than just, it's a villainous child. I don't think there's any potential in that. So I think that's an obvious one. And boy, you have a lot of characters like Goro, which includes all the other Shokan, because Shokan just seem to want what's best for their people. Same can be assumed for the Centaurs and Mataro. But unfortunately, Mataro we don't know much of, because Mataro doesn't get to fucking return. Ermac literally was a good guy, once broken free from whatever control Shao Kahn has him, and then helps the heroes, in Deception. And then MK actually just helps Kotal because, I don't know, he just wants to, which simultaneously conflicts with the X comics because during the same time period, he's still with Melina. They really botched this character, Arrested, and it's a massive shame. And I hope he doesn't just become a villain in the new timeline. I feel like that's entirely possible. Um, I mean, he's like Sindel in the sense that he's only like on the villain side when he's just mind controlled, right? So, I mean, oh, that's an interesting one because it's not even like it's not necessarily like a mind control. I think he's still himself. Like Deception Conquest kind of proves it. He's like a chill guy, but he's like kind of like forced into doing whatever Shao Kahn wants. It's an interesting one. It's one you can expand on. But regardless, he's supposed to be a good guy who gets that development after Shao Kahn's death or defeat, whatever, in MK3. Reptile, literally one of the most sympathetic characters in the franchise. You know, he's been on the villain side in every game, and it's fucking dumb. He just wants his people back, the poor guy, which you'd think would also involve trying to restore his realm because that's what would be the ticket to like uniting whatever people are left. But no, he just wants to save his people. Which I mean, I guess that shows he doesn't even want much. He just wants his own species back. He doesn't even want his realm. Like poor guy. You just feel bad for him. And it's just the same character over and over again, where he just wants his race back and makes no progress to achieving it. What a sad character. Of course he should be well, at least on the good side. You know, he's not evil at all. Like, the closest is like Day Alliance, but he's just insane in that one. And I feel like you get a pass for that, you know? Imagine what he's been through. Of course he's gone fucking insane. Speaking of Day Alliance, Atara helps him out. And Atara's 3 has like some shady, like neutral force in Day Alliance, but she holds up her end of the deal. You know, she kind of manipulates Reptile and Cyrax. Either way, helps Reptile out, gives him the Kirahashi sword. Helps Cyrax out by helping him get home, keeping up her end of the deal, which is unlike Quan Chi, who just abandons Moloch and Dragon after they helped him out in the same game. And she restores her realm, brings people back together, and is literally a hero in Armageddon, is literally trying to protect people from Ashra, who is also a hero, but she's insane because weird lore to do with the Chris being some like vampire slaying weapon that's kind of taking a hold of her. There's a lot of mind control in MK, and I don't like it. Okay, I really don't. But yeah, Natara is just a hero. She just is. I know because all vampire, you know, there's like a shady level there, but her goals are good. And when her realm's back, she is just doing just genuine good. Like no evil there. But of course, I feel like she's just going to be a villain when she inevitably returns in MK12 because all vampire goth lady. It's why Sindel's a villain, right? Because she looks evil. So Baraka just wants literally wants his people to be treated right. Just wants them to be treated as equal, right? I know there's all the endings, and this goes for all the characters who just want equality for their people in Outworld, where they just have like their race like dominate around. That's dumb. We ignore that. That just conflicts them all. In canon, they just want equality, right? It just wants what's right for their people, what's right for Outworld, and they're just fine for that. I just go for most Shao Kahn forces because most of them are actually loyal to Shao Kahn. It's just you have no other choice. You serve him or you die, right? It's the same for the Link Way logic. The only Shao Kahn loyalists we seen are like Melina and Scarlet, who are very, very manipulated, and Collector and Reiko, who are just evil. So they're the two that like do just free vibes. Even then, Collector seems to want good for his race, but like he's too greedy to help him. I don't know. He's a bit of a mess of a character. But yeah, I gotta say, wait to see Baraka's character development be undone. One of the best things from MK11. I mean, MK12 Tarkans are just like a diseased like species. Like fuck off. Terrible. Devora, you're not surprised to see her here, but again, she seems to have goals of just wanting to bring her people back. I mean, probably she does do the most shadiest shit of them all. But in like a reboot, and you don't want her to be killing your favourite characters, then yeah, she could basically have similar goals essentially. Serena, and this applies to basically all the Netherrealmers, you know, Kyoja, Taka, even the only Mola Controller. They just want to be free from the Netherrealm, especially when they're natives to the Netherrealm, right? And I feel like this is a distinction that MK doesn't really talk about it so much, and again, I feel like the Netherrealm, even though the Netherrealm is the third most prominent realm in Outworld, in Outworld, in Mortal Kombat, it still feels not explored enough at all. Um, this whole fact there's these native species who just live here their lives, right? I mean, Drummond's not native actually from the characters I listed, but regardless, just these people live their lives. They are just genuinely good at heart, presumably, right? Because Serena's good. I mean, she's been put in villain roles, but she's shown to do good. Ashra, too. Ashra is just a good person. Yeah, maybe she could probably hold back on like fucking demon vampire genocide or whatever, but I think that's because of the sword and its shady magic. But yeah, I digress. They, they just want to be out the realm, and I can't blame them. You were just born to this realm. You weren't a sinner like all the other residents, and said residents make this place living hell. Along with other motherfuckers like Shinnok, obviously. But yeah, of course you'd want to get out. Like it's like these have all been put in unfair circumstances, right? All of these characters, and they don't even do much shady stuff, right? They really don't. From the characters I can think of, even like Moloch and Dramin, they eat humans. I like that's pretty bad, but I don't know. I don't think they they mean bad by it. As for the actual like regular demon characters like Serena, they're just good people. It seems. So yeah, just put them on the good side. Moloch and Dramin you could definitely have on villain side, but I feel like there's some depth there, especially to Dramin in learning his past and stuff. Man, Dramin's the fucking perfect character. He is the perfect character, and he's just been ignored for so long because Ed Boon doesn't like him. Can that old fuck please retire? Scarlet and also Melina. I bundle them together here. Literally just the old daughters of Shao Kahn who were just clearly manipulated. I mean, Scarlet in both, like her MK9 and MK11 lore. MK9, she's fucking chained up in the flesh bits and is literally used like a weapon, not a person. And MK11, she given this blood magic, and she's very like it's not even subtle. Like very clearly, heavily implied that she's addicted to blood and needs help, and she doesn't get the help she needs. Wow, fucking hell. MK villains, they just all very sad. Melina, again, very manipulated. The problem is they do just make her like a genuine villain now. And Melina's one that I feel just needs like a rewrite entirely in how her personality is. Not like her lore or anything. I can't believe MK12 is changing her backstory. That was a perfect part of her character being. I mean, MK9 changed it anyway, but like growing up with Katana, being like the clone, like that's so cool. And they just use it to like, oh, I'm evil, even though that's not what the Tarkatans are anymore. The Tarkatans, they're not villains, they're not these monsters anymore, right? The Tarkan DNA is just to make her more ferocious, have that, make her stronger than Katana, right? That's just Katana's goal, right? And yeah, she just does some evil shit, helping villains and whatnot. Throughout the Midway timeline, very generic character. And then the NRS time, she doesn't even come across as a villain. Like in the actual story, in dialogue, she says some weird shit, does some weird shit. But in story, like whenever you get the Outlaw Civil War stuff, and we'll get to Kotal in a second, she just seems like she's in the right constantly. She's helping out Tarkatans who are at threat of genocide by the current emperor, and she wants to restore Adenia. Seems like the better side of the two to me. I don't know. But then it's also kind of squashed by like the story just also simultaneously bringing up random evil shit she did off screen, like attacking Sundo, or like the ex-comics just claim that she was even worse than Shao Kahn, which how is that possible? Shao Kahn like put Outworld and other realms through thousands of years of torment and conquerings and shit. He's a fucking slave owner, for God's sake. And Melina's apparently worse. Speaking of slave owner, this fucking guy, he owns slaves in the Axe comics, by the way. Another forgotten thing. He genocides Tarkatans not once, but he tries to do it again. He he fucking actively tries to fight his girlfriend when she tries to prevent him from genocide and Tarkatans again. Offers refuge to Shao Kahn when he shows up. Is literally just like making everyone who serves him work without pay, presumably, except for Eren, which is weird why you'd employ that bounty hunter guy, which includes employing a child labor right there, and sending that child off to fight for him. His fucking laws are very extreme. Tries to execute a bread thief, which also says a lot about like the state of the realm. Like hey man, what's going on? What is that a common occurrence? You know, people like there's such a need for that, where people are just stealing fucking bread. Like what is the poverty in that realm? Like, I don't think he's very good for the realm at all. We don't see many knock-nodders, and he's trying to execute Collector. Might genocide the knock-nodders. They're mentioned off screen, but maybe that's something he's trying to do as well. Betrays Earthrealm, betrays the Kombat kids. Wants to help Shinnok, just for self-preservation. Then lies in MK11 to pass Raiden, saying that they fought side by side. And he's never punished for this at all. He acts like he's fucking benevolent, giving up his throne to Katana, but that's literally because he can't defend it, because he's crippled. As an outward roller, you need to fight, basically, right? So yeah, you have to give that fucking throne up. And also, Braga probably wants to munch you up if you don't. So, I don't know, man. Also, he's like the cause for like the Mayans dying, because he like was a false god to him. He pretended to be a god to them, and then also taught him to like eat people's heart. He just taught him cannibalism, which yeah, that's why he hates the Tarkatans, right? For at least one of the reasons. The other reason is just because they sided with Melina, because you weren't good to him, you fucking asshole. He's caused many deaths. And yeah, he's a hypocrite because of it. He's a constant liar. I've already given one example beforehand. He's a shitty son to his dad. He fucks over the Shokan. He ruins Goro's life, kills his father, and like fucking severs his arms off and shit. He does everything wrong, and yet for some reason MK11, even though Xy's like clearly like betrays him, that's kind of like a villain turn for him. He's treated as like this good guy, just flawed. He's just a flawed character. Like, I know he tried genocide. I know he tried to genocide the Tarkatans again, but come on, give him another chance. He has done so much like awful shit that he cannot be justified as being even on the hero side, whether he's a hero or not. He should not even be on that side, because I feel like most of those heroes can't focus from his girlfriend Jade should fucking hate him as a freedom fighter. She should not like Koa at all. It's such a contrived pairing. This is the one example, and I want to say this one is one of the last ones we cover, because here's the one example of all these characters I've said are either on the villain side, or people think they're on the villain side, or they're just like this weird neutral force who should be portrayed like a more positive light. He is the one I think should just be an outright villain. There is no redeeming qualities of him. He's better than Shao Kahn by default. And even then, that's debatable, because it feels like all the outward species like the Tarkans, the Shokan, etc., they were in better positions when Shao Kahn was in charge. So for the people of Outworld, Shao Kahn might have been better for them. He's only better because he's not actively being a threat to the other realms, but he's actively more harmful to Outworld than Shao Kahn was. He is a terrible person, a terrible ruler. He should not be a hero. He really shouldn't. I don't even mind this. Like if you want to be a hero, you need to completely rewrite him, right? He's one that you need to completely rewrite him to even be remotely likable. That's how fucked up this character is. He's a terrible person. Like, it's insane. Of all the characters who like MK act like are just these irredeemable monsters, and you're acting like Kotal here gets a pass. Fuck off. What a terrible. It really does just show like the fucking terrible mindset the writers must be in. Like, Jesus Christ, how can you not tell you are writing a monster? Not to mention, but Rain and I guess Tanya. Tanya especially does nothing wrong in the NRS time. Just wants her round back. That simple as they midway Tanya, she's just a survivalist, kind of like Dvorak does some shady shit, but you know, like I mean, Onaga, she's forced something. Not a good person, but you know, you can sympathize for her. NRS Tanya is just a good person. She literally does no wrong. Rain's more complex, so we'll get more into Rain here. Because he's just an entitled prick from the Armageddon law. But I mean, MK3 shows he's redeemable, right? You know, because you know, it wasn't when the Son of Argus law was around and his father was a general. When he learned what happened to Sava and whatnot, he betrayed Shao Kahn and joins like the Daemon Resistance, right? And this law's forgotten, and he's just stuck with the villains ever since. And, you know, you'd think, oh, hell, Melina, that puts him in the good side. The problem is that Rain was always the one that was going to betray her, not Tanya. A lot of people seem to think Tanya was going to betray Melina. They're literally lovers. Like, no, she wasn't. She just wants her round back because she's a good person. Rain was the shady motherfucker. So Rain's, again, kind of one you have to rewrite because he has been this shady traitor. He has betrayed someone in every game he's in. Shao Kahn, Goro in Deception. Like, yeah, when he's not even playable, he's betraying motherfuckers. It is crazy. It is crazy how Tanya is branded as a traitor at Alien when Rain is the one who betrays everyone every game. So yeah, I think he's one that I personally think could be put on the heroic side. And that's just because I don't think he's a well-written character. I think he's a really bland villain. You can't take him as a credible threat, even though he's a demigod, because he has no forces behind him. And his claim to the throne doesn't even make sense because Argus was not the king of Edenia, so he's not a prince. He's entitled to nothing. It's such a dumb character just to make a shitty little prince reference. So yeah, I don't have anything to support like him being a good guy because he's not in canon, but he's such a bad character that I feel like just change him, just completely change him. I mean, MK12, he's now like basically like fucking bootleg Shang Tsung. He's the high mage of Outworld, so Jesus Christ. Oh, enjoy your Harry Potter shit, Rain. Current state of and guys who are kind of ran in the neutral category, at least when they debuted. Daru just seems like a good guy. I know he's a mercenary and stuff, but like very sympathetic, of course, when he was kills a murderer, then he gets arrested. He was a Zen guardsman. And then like Darius is by like it's really well done because it's hinting at the fact that like he hires people to assassinate Saiyan guards' families, and that's how he gets them to break from their code of honor, right? And that's how he gets people to join him, like Dairu. So yeah, he's just a victim of circumstance for all the shady shit that goes on in the Order Realm. He's very sympathetic. Again, you know, mercenary, not good. You know, he's like a cynical guy. But he's one that I think you can have a lot of development. He's a really intriguing character. Super, super underrated. He has such a good backstory. One of the best in MK, in my opinion. And yeah, he just doesn't feel like a villain. He's on the Forces of Darkness now and again, but like basically the majority of characters who are on the Forces of Darkness make no sense, and then either not explained or the explanation just to get close to their enemy, who's also on the same side. That doesn't make sense because both sides are colliding head on. That makes no difference. So yeah, very dumb. But yeah, I think he's a good guy. Now Darius, again, this is a neutral side, and I think him and Hotaru, right? They are actual neutral forces, I feel, because there's both good and bad to them. And I think a good way of saying details, it's not as like set in stone as this, because again they're very complex characters. But it feels like Darius is kind of has the right goal in mind. That's the wrong way of doing it. Whereas Hotaru has the wrong goal in mind, but he what he does is right by it. And what I mean by that is Darius does some shady shit. He's the same resistance leader, and but he's got very extremist methods to get that. That could reflect on the fact that like just how like strict the same government is. Not corrupt, by the way. And I'll get to Hotaru. They're not corrupt, but they are super strict. You know, there's very little freedom in Order Realm, and there's a lot of absurd laws, very, very strict laws. And if you break them, you can go through a very long sentence. Just ask Shijinko. I mean, he was just waiting. He was just waiting for a court trial. But yeah, very extremist methods, whether that's necessary or not, it's still shady nonetheless. So yeah, I think they should stay as neutral forces. You can kind of lean to one side or the other, but at the end of the day, I feel like they are neutral forces, and I think it should stay that way. And that's what makes this guy so compelling. Hotaru too, because Hotaru, he seems like a really like genuinely nice dude in Conquest. You know, trains Shijinko. Seems he's like genuinely kind to him, and of course he's just upholding the law. Of course, he fully supports it. You know, it's not like he's just doing it just because it's his job. Like no, he passionately supports and likes what he's doing. And he's the leader of the Seidan Guard, which is just the law enforcement, right? Very efficient, and of course, very strict, upholding to the laws. Again, not corrupt. He is not corrupt. He follows the laws that are there. They are strict, and you know, he abides by them. And I think that's what's so interesting, right? Because I mean, arresting Shijinko, it's not something he wants to do, but he has to because of his code of honor here, right? And it's just really interesting to see. Of course, he helps the Dragon King, which is partially interesting, but kind of not. Onagi's meant to represent order, and Shao Kahn's meant to represent chaos, but it's not that simple, right? And by the end, Shijinko like reveals that Onagi's trying to merge all the realms, and that causes them all to unite, lend Shijinko his power so he can defeat Onaga in his end, which is the best ending in the franchise. But then after Deception, Hotaru's still with Onaga. Like, dude, you know he wants bad shit. Like it's weird. I feel like Hotaru's one who would side with the heroes a lot, but of course I'd still say he's neutral overall, because yeah, like the Seidan government, not good. They're not corrupt or anything, at least to our knowledge, but boy are they strict. It's literally called Order Realm. Now Havoc, he was kind of turned to a villain in the XCons, and I don't like that. It's very generic to just go, oh, Chaos Man should be evil. Because, I mean, Havoc actually had more good qualities than bad. Again, and this is why he's neutral, because there's good and bad. The good is he's an active protector of his realm, you know, with Order Realm's attempts like control their realm, control of people. He's actively fighting against that. He's doing good by his realm, his Chaos realm, right? The bad is he's trying to spread that chaos throughout the realms, most notably Order Realm, and that obviously contributes to this ever-going clash between Order Realm and Chaos Realm in trying to bring chaos to one and trying to bring order to the other. So he's not exactly trying to peacefully resolve this, because yeah, dude wants chaos, dude loves his chaos, and if he stuck to this chaotic lifestyle in Chaos Realm, he'd be fine. He'd just be a good guy, in my opinion. He'd just be a quirky little guy. But no, he likes to be a bit devious outside of Chaos Realm, you know. Manipulating Cabal into starting the new Black Dragon, you know. Just start a crime syndicate, will you? It'd be pretty funny. And, you know, aligning with Darius, which is also kind of shady on Darius' part to align with Chaos Realm, because they don't just want like a government change or anything. They just want society to fucking collapse. That's what Havoc wants. And I love that. X Comics, I know he's in a prominent role, so people act like they do him well. I disagree, and I say that because he like controls people and stuff, and I don't know what he wants. Like he wants to bring Cash to all around, right? But it feels like he just wants to control it all. So it does feel like kind of conflicting his character. And the blood code shit is just weird anyway, so that just wastes on any character involved with it. But yeah, there's this misconception that he's just evil because old Chaos Man. And it's just not that simple. It really isn't. Again, a neutral character, and that's how it should stay. There's probably various other characters I can talk about, but Wenda Hippsendal was never evil in the first place. Simple as that. So yeah, I just want to kind of ramble about this. I'm sure there's more I could even talk about these characters, their character alignments, and how they should probably change. There's so much to say the same. You know, most of the hero characters should not be put on the villain side. The only one I think should swap is Kotal because he has like no positive traits at all. Right, the heroes feel heroic, at least in like their concept, at least in the old games. In terms of the NRS games, some of them are kind of shitty. Some of them aren't. But they still feel heroic. They're just not very likable. And that's mainly the fault of intro dialogues. That's not for every character, though. But yeah, I think it's an interesting discussion. I think it's one worth talking about because I'm kind of sick of the whole argument for villain version of this character. Because I feel like they're just inherently inferior versions of like all these characters I've discussed, except Kotal. Kotal should just be evil. And of course that doesn't mean every character needs to be good. Again, you got neutral forces. You got some that could be either. You know, like a blank slate, like C-Melian. K-Melian is just a good person, but the male chameleon, we know nothing about him, so you can actually do whatever with him, right? You can make him close ally to K-Melian, or like a direct rival or something. I'd personally do the former, but yeah, there's something you can do. Of course, there's new characters in making the villain side, but I feel like most of the established characters we have, they feel like good characters, or at least there's redeemable qualities to them. That's what I think, my personal opinion. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. I know I'm doing much more Kombat content about, but that's because MK's just really annoying. I know there's no reveal on the 21st, but my birthday's the day before. I'm not giving a fuck about Mortal Kombat at that point. And I don't want to do another video. I might eventually, but after the fucking me just giving my opinion on the Rain and Smoke trailer, people got very angry and made up a bunch of like bullshit counterpoints that didn't actually counter anything I said. But yes, that's all for this video. I hope to get some more combat videos out in the future. I just don't know what to be doing, but I'll figure it out. Thanks for watching. See ya.